Archbishop Alexander Golitzin is the Bishop of Dallas, the South, in the Bulgarian Diocese. He is a monk of Simonopetra Monastery on Mount Athos, where he was the disciple of the great elder Emilianos. He is also a graduate of Oxford University, where he wrote his monumental doctoral dissertation on St. Dionysius the Areopagite. Archbishop Alexander is a wonderful archpastor, and he's, as you'll see, a fine scholar. So without further ado, I hope you'll enjoy this episode from my interview with His Eminence Archbishop Alexander Golitzin.
Scandals in the life of the Church are as old as the Church. We can see them in the epistles of St. Paul. Corinth was apparently rife with scandals, to the extent that the apostle was appalled. Now, of course, he understood himself as responsible for them and to them for correction, and all of us do not share that kind of responsibility or calling. We're not all pastors or archpastors, but we all have a common responsibility for the well-being of the people of God, for the equilibrium and harmony of the Church's life. So our reactions will depend, on the one hand, on our particular set of responsibilities, that is, are different for a bishop or a priest than for layman or laywoman, or even for a parish council member in the case of a particular parish scandal. The first reaction should be sorrow. The second should be prayer for the correction and repentance of those who have done wrong, especially for their repentance in return. It should involve the correction of the misdeed, say in the case of individuals, there are two sins or faults which excite great public attention. The one, of course, is sex, and the other is money. The second can be corrected probably rather more easily than the first. For the first, there are protocols in place which have been designed of late and of necessity to deal with that kind of wrongdoing. First, rather, might be, in fact, it might be a little more complicated, but I think it can be repaired. Money can be returned or made up for. Those guilty, discipline, differently, depending on whether they're clerical or lay. the layperson would be imposed a penance. The cleric would probably be defrocked and imposed a penance, as in the case of sexual misconduct, certainly of a serious kind. Then there are the larger scandals involving whole local churches. As in the present conflict between the Patriarchates of Constantinople and Moscow over the disposition of the Ukrainian church. In such disputes, we can do just about nothing except pray and urge those in each camp to make peace, because nothing is furthered in the present case by this disaccord and break in communion, in fact. I don't know if I should say this, but probably not. And I hope I don't alarm our Metropolitan. But I really think myself that this situation has to be worked out in Ukraine, between the respective bodies. I met Metropolitan Onufri, the head of the Ukrainian Church of Moscow Patriarchate, and have great respect for him, as is most of the Orthodox world. And I wonder if he can't talk to his opposite number and if they can't come to some kind of agreement. But ultimately, it's entirely out of my hands and of anybody else's besides the protagonists of the protagonists. We can only together pray that they do.
Hi again, hope you enjoyed this episode from my interview with His Eminence Archbishop Alexander Golitzin. Please leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of this video, and please subscribe below so you can get notified the next time an episode becomes available, which happens every Friday. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.